I'm chairman of Universal Parking, so we started building universal parking. And now we're in 18 cities throughout the Southeast US and Texas. And really the Sun Belt area is where we've been growing. Technological changes have really advanced and they've speeded up over the last number of years. Way back when, changing the credit cards was a big advancement, and then automating facilities where you didn't have cashiers in facilities. Those were big changes that took place, and of course now the technology, every year something else continues to move us forward. And typically parking was a laggard in the technology industry, and over the last 5 years it's really skyrocketed in our industry, and it's made it more efficient for our parkers and more profitable for our clients and for ourselves. So things have really continued to grow. So it's interesting what has happened. Class A office buildings have certainly suffered over the number of years with the high interest rates and people working from home where occupancy's gone down in the buildings. Typically that was the bread and butter of the parking industry. And it continues to be probably the strongest segment of the parking business, but it certainly has had its struggles over the last few years. Interest rates, particularly when these buildings, when their debt comes up for renewal and they have to go refinance their debt at a higher interest rate with a lower occupancy, a lot of these buildings have turned back over to the lenders. So we've helped those buildings try to bring more revenue, more income to them so that they can continue the ownership position that they're in and delivering the service that they can to their tenants. But certainly they're not the growth area today. Arenas, sporting venues, hospitals, universities, all of those have really retail has taken on fire. And then the other thing is we've been able to expand outside the typical parking areas, right? With the technology, we've been able to push the boundaries outside of the typical downtown area and areas that weren't used for parking. So now with the technology of just using a QR code or an app and the follow-up enforcement associated with it, it's really been able to expand parking, which has increased the overall revenue portfolio in the industry. There's certain points that have been constant throughout that period. And certainly dealing with Class A office, hospitals, universities, there's a lot of touch points involved. So customer service is still a strong area. You have to deliver for the client. Certainly maximizing profitability for the clients, extremely important to do that. And those are constants. What's changed certainly is the technology and being able to deliver additional revenue sources to the client, making convenience factors, bringing that to the tenants and the parkers. Those have changed our industry dramatically. The former gated pay in lane or using a pay machine, those things are going by the wayside. And the hard parks equipment is going by the wayside. It doesn't mean gated solutions are going by the wayside. We've seen the rise over the last number of years of gateless solutions, and there are plenty of opportunities for more gateless solutions. But we look at it as taking every individual location and coming up with a specific solution for that location. It could be gated, it could be non-gated, but even with the gated solutions, ticketless is going to really run forward. I think the days of pulling a ticket and paying a pay on foot station or even a pay in lane on the way out, those days are numbered. I think we're looking forward to, in the future, to having a ticketless solution, which makes it very convenient for the parker and very efficient for the operators like ourselves. So I think we're all kind of figuring that out right now, but I think there's some basic solutions that I think the ones that are going to be probably the first ones. Anything that's repetitious, data entry, that sort of thing. I think those type of solutions, reporting when it's revenue source coming in, expenses and coming out with financial statements, those will probably be the first. But also off-site management of facilities. So when you're pressing a button at the exit or the entrance to talk to someone, seeing solutions for that and creating AI solutions specifically for that, I think is probably the next wave. So we're just exploring those options now, and I think there are plenty of opportunities for us. But one of the things we look at is, and one of the challenges that we look at is that we're not an AI company, right? We're a parking management company, and we're agnostic when it comes to solutions. So we look for expertise in certain areas. We look for companies like Get My Parking to help us with AI solutions and how we can bring that into our facilities. I think, like anything, new solutions can take a little while to adapt. However, the AI solutions that I've seen with Get My Parking, certainly in the off-site management, it seems seamless. The parker, won't even know that it's an AI solution and not a person that they're dealing with. Well, I'll go back and say that I think it'll actually create efficiencies. So what I'm finding is that with the Get My Parking AI solution, they're coming up with, if there's a problem in the lane with a parker, they're coming up with solutions before they even speak for the parker. So I think it'll make things work quicker, and ultimately the parker will get more satisfaction out of it and will improve their experience in the garage. I always believe, particularly in the high-profile, complex properties, there's always going to be a need for customer service, dealing with tenants, to work with parking solutions, to increase parkers in facilities, ultimately increase the bottom line. There's always that solution that's going to continue, right? So they need doing that. There are solutions, though, in facilities where you can simply put up a QR code, have the parker pay, and have an enforcement piece of that. So, as I said, it opens up more facilities and expands the parking world, frankly. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. Listen, keep your eyes open. And the main thing I tell anyone who asks me for advice in business in general, focus. Focus, focus, focus. You want to be, hard work and focus. Those two things can take you a long way. And making sure that you're not trying to be everything to everyone. And that's part of focus, right? Knowing what you're good at and being good at what you're good at. And the things that are not in your culture, making sure you're finding solutions outside yourself to do that.